Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, your favorite Giants podcast. I'm your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan, and we are back for another episode previewing Week 2 against the Washington Commanders, Sunday, 1 o'clock. It's been a long week. It's been a long week, but here we are again. I don't want to say it's a clean slate because it's not, but it's the sunburn on my head is peeling away to a tan. Well, that'll
that's in the opening roundup. We're all in trouble. So
it's a metaphor. Occasion. It's a metaphor for my feelings here. My skin is hardening to the to the weathering.
Well, this protective shell I built around my soul is. So far, it's handling. It's like the Iron Dome. You know, it's like the levee system, hoping that you're going to prevent a hurricane from overtaking you with, destruction. So far, everything is holding up for me.
So don't intro this episode with when the levee breaks.
Exactly. When we're 0-6, go for it. But right now, I this is the mental, fitness and preparation I've had all off season for my Gators and Giants, and the Category 4 storm is here. Hurricane Jones is howling at my door, and Elton John once said, "I'm still standing, better than I ever did."
So, speaking of still standing, this is a pretty clean injury report, but definitely some things that we need to talk about.
Sure.
And the did not practice and likely not to play. It's looking like Gunnar Olszewski. A lot of people are thinking he's going to IR. Why it hasn't happened yet, not sure. Darius Muasau has a knee issue that he sustained in game. Same with Nick McLeod. All three not likely to play. Limited, but I think will play. Darius Slayton progressing through the concussion protocol. The fact that he's limited on Thursday, I feel pretty comfortable he's going to play, but we'll probably see more Jalen Hyatt. Malik Neighbors popped up with a knee issue, but no one seems to think that it's anything serious, and they're just being cautious with him. And Micah McFadden was a full participant, didn't play last week, so he is likely going to play, which is good because Darius Muasau is probably not. On the flip side, for Washington, also pretty clean. It looks like Jerjon Newton was limited with a foot issue. He's probably going to play. Manny Forbes, it's reported that he's going to be getting surgery on his thumb, but it still looks likely that he's going to play. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, but that seems like it should have an impact on the game.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Very, very bizarre. In regards to Gunnar Olszewski not playing, the Giants did sign punt returner Emir Smith-Marset. Why this is important? Because they are not forcing Darius Slayton to play special teams. They are getting a special teams player to replace the special teams player. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus.
Baby steps. Who knows? Maybe we learn from past mistakes.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, the receivers are the interesting bunch here. I mean, I think one of the little mini controversies that came out of, last week was, where's Jalen Hyatt? Why does he have so few snaps? And, with some potential, maybe guys that are going to play, but might be maybe held down a little bit in their pitch counts. Maybe he'll get some more snaps and more reps to, maybe change hearts and minds of the coaching staff that right now obviously sees him as kind of a, running out kid. And that's basically it right now. So this may be an opportunity for him.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, we'll see if him getting more snaps has anything to do with the game plan, if it has anything to do with Darius Slayton's availability, or if it has anything to do with his frustration leaving the game last week, or if it has anything to do with, command from the top. Like, hey, we drafted this guy in the 3rd round and we traded up for him, play him. I hope that's not the case.
If we are getting calls, and not even from Shane, if this is something, if Mara is worrying about stuff like this, we have a much, much bigger problem than...
Just to clarify, I meant Shane, not Mara.
Okay. I was going to say, whoa, hold on a minute. But even so, even if the general manager is making,
I hope it's not the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Roster predictions and also who you're playing during games. That I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think they may all kind of huddle together and just discuss things, but I don't know if there's any. Hopefully, there's no directives from anybody saying you need to play this guy, especially for a reason of, well, we drafted him in the third round last year. That would you just kept me up a little longer at night than I probably will be already.
Our last episode was rightfully very negative. One of the most negative ones I think we've
Wait,
ever
wait,
done.
wait, hold on. Before we get back into that, I want to get back to Neighbors for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I know you kind of were like, he's limited, he'll probably play, but this is just me and just, this last bad luck of the last decade of the Giants and my bad experience with general managers and coaches who downplay things and they're worse than they are. What I'm really going to be worried about until Sunday, until I see him on the field, is he's, in good shape, because this guy is the potential to be the face of our franchise. He's really the only exciting person we have to really look forward to. Is, he looks like he's a potential, superstar in this league from what we saw in college, what we saw in training camp, all these different things. And, I know that if he misses practice here, it's not going to be the end of the world or anything, but I just hope it's nothing really serious, because if it's something that all of a sudden turns into, well, he's limited, but now he's out, and then it's this, I'm going to really, really start banging my head against appliances and things. So I'm
just...
hang
on. Before you, two things. One, I agree with you. Obviously, we got to see, but I all the nobody seems to think that this is anything major. They just kind of reduced the number of reps mid-practice. Being careful with him seems to be the general consensus among everybody. But, obviously I agree with you. But let's just say that he, just tweaked something, whatever. If he's the franchise guy, would you not want to scale him back?
100%.
I mean, in game even.
Oh, yeah. I hope they do the right thing for sure. But okay. Yeah, I just don't hope it's anything more than just we're being overly cautious. And I hope that we get, some honesty from this team and some good reporting from people to find out exactly. Because a couple of things I saw today where he didn't look like himself, then he, went off and then they called him limited after everything. I just hope it's nothing big. That's about it. But yes, I would rather him being the potential face in week 2 of a long season. I don't want to risk anything.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if Neighbors sneezes 3 times, I
want
him limited with the flu.
Out.
You know what I mean?
IR.
Yeah. All right. So last week was super negative. Like I said, there were a couple things that we didn't point out because they were such small bright spots and they weren't the most important thing to talk about. And also, that's the more emotional episode. That's the more reactive one. Couple things that they're real quick hitters. Things that are positives to take away from this team and building it going forward, etc. Number one, this is easy. Dexter Lawrence just continues to dominate. He had an incredible day. The other is, speaking of Malik Neighbors, he's clearly a factor. I know this is a low bar, but despite that pitiful, dreadful offensive performance, he led all rookie wide receivers in week 1, which is, it's clear that he is a massive factor for this team.
And you know why I was excited too? He was a massive factor without having to be spectacular.
Right.
Sometimes, a rookie gets on the scene like with, wow, what an amazing catch. How did he get his feet in bounds? How did he get that one-handed catch? How did he be an OBJ, for example? But just, he looked like a number 1 receiver. And just the routes, and it was just like, okay, this is a guy. It's great to have the as a spectacular, but I need the very, very good too, the steady, reliable.
Right.
He's making the catch. And I saw that, and that got me excited as much. Sure, is he going to go up and grab a ball that he shouldn't? Is he going to take the top off? Is he all these different things? Yeah, probably. And that's going to make him, Sports Center highlight worthy and clip worthy. But those are the things we saw this week that's what I want to see going forward. A number 1 receiver.
One last thing I thought was good, and this is kind of, I don't want to say this is a stretch, but the overall run game and the offense looked like shit. But I thought Devin Singletary ran well. I think, given what was in front of him, what the game looked. I mean, the whole offense looked putrid. Let's be serious. But
yep.
I thought that he ran well. I thought what was in front of him, what was called, I thought he did pretty good. I like I like his running style. Just
Yep.
saying that.
I,
I think
and that was my fear going to the season, which, we have debated. I know when I was walking to the game with Justin on Sunday, that was the one topic we were kind of going back and forth with, was I didn't think this team looked good run blocking. And I still don't think they look good run blocking, Sunday. I understand the game kind of got away from us a little bit, but Singletary made the most out of what was available to him. There weren't that many holes. There wasn't that much gaps. There wasn't much, but he looked like, if you give him a hole, you give him, a lane or he'll be just fine, for what we're trying to do. So I agree with you.
that was all I had.
Yeah. Talking about the offensive line, again, little things. I thought pass protection wasn't bad. We're used to none, and I think we got some. I mean, Daniel Jones, decided he wasn't getting sacked enough, and he kind of ran himself into a couple sacks. But I think that I think I saw something that we graded out 10th in the league in rating from PFF for pass blocking. That's something to build on. I mean, this is our feel good, looking for things to be kind of happy about, and that was something. Second thing also is something we've been bitching about on the show since this wasn't even a show. Special teams weren't bad. For the first time, we didn't do foolish things. We wasn't just a chaotic mess. We didn't screw things up. It just did their jobs. And again, from a team that I think might be one of the 3 worst teams in the league, I'm looking for little things that I can latch onto, and I think we've seen a little bit of improvement in special teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason it didn't get accolades for me was that overshadowing that was how inept the front office was for not having a backup plan for a punt returner that was clearly hurt going into it, and then you had the Darius Slayton muff, which isn't really the fault of Slayton. I mean, it's kind of Slayton's fault, but like this isn't something he should be doing.
Exactly.
It was more the front office's fault, roster management problem. But you're right, the downing on the 1 yard line. Also, rewatching the game, I kind of felt like somebody's foot was on the line, which I'm surprised because I would have thought that they took a really close look at that. I never really got a clear replay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a great play. You had 3 guys involved in downing that on the one.
We hit a field goal, things. I mean, just little things, like things you take for granted when you're watching a game that we, quite frankly, haven't been able to take for granted. And, we've been saying special teams sucks. We fire the special teams coach. When they're going to put any, we don't need a 100-yard kickoff return every kickoff or a punt return for a touchdown every time, but we need competence.
Mistakes. Yeah.
We need competence. And I think we got some competence. So the bar is extremely low to get excited about. Not many things went well.
That's kind of always my bar for specialty. Oh, you mean overall?
I'm not mean overall. I'm saying, but those are some things I thought, okay, well, let's start with, somewhat excited about those things, and let's try to build off of those things.
One thing that wasn't great.
Take your pick.
Jordan Renan tried to ask Kayvon Thibodeau a question about his performance, and he's just flat out being an asshole. Just being an asshole. Wouldn't let him finish the question. Does anybody else have a question? Look, you can't start the spring or summer and go, before anyone asks, I'm going for the sack record, and then lay an egg in your first week, then very rudely ignore questions about how you laid an egg. He kind of sort of rectified it. He was joking around with Jordan Renan to start, the press things today. He knows he did something stupid, but, he is a media guy. He's always going to be a media lightning rod. And also, once you do something like that, people know that they can potentially get quotes out of you. And the media is going to go after you after bad losses or bad individual performances. You can't do this shit. You can't do this. It is simply unacceptable.
I am going to say 2 things can be true at once. One, not cool what he did. Kind of unacceptable to act like a dick to really anyone, especially someone just trying to do their job. However, I'll say 3 things can be true at once. The second thing is, I don't care. And that leads into my third reason, is I think it's kind of ridiculous right after a game having interviews when these guys are highly, ultra super competitive guys. And, as excited as we are as fans, as pissed off as we are at fans when we lose, these guys feel it 50 times more than we do, especially after week one, when, you're done with the offseason, you're excited. And the first thing that happens after you lose and you are pissed is somebody gets in your face and asks you, even if you think it's silly, it may not necessarily I never cared, and I've been very consistent on this show. I don't care what players, coaches, general managers say. I really don't, because it's either just a canned answer or it's just they're hiding something. And yes, he was a dick for what he did, and his answers were a dick. But something, at least I understand how annoyed he was after the game, and that kind of told me a little something. But so to me, you shouldn't be a dick. But I don't want to give it a pass, but I just don't really. It doesn't make me think one way or another about him. I think to me, it's just highly competitive athletes who get a microphone stuck in their face at their biggest vulnerable moment. I mean, if you were the
hang on. Wait. Was it even after the game, or was it the next day?
I thought it was after the game.
I thought it was the next day.
Was it the next day?
I don't know. I saw it the next day, which if it happened after the game, I would have thought that I would have seen it after the game.
If it was next day, we're going to delete this whole section out of my answer.
Well, why? That was only one fork of your three-pronged fork.
I guess so, but no, I mean, I'm serious. My answer honestly would not change.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, it really wouldn't, because think about this, Grump. Let's say, I'm not gonna reveal what either of us do for a living, but let's say what you do, you get to the heart of it, and it didn't go your way, right? And you care about your job, you're passionate about your job, you want to do well. And somebody who you have comes up to you and says, "Tell me how you feel about that. Will you make that mistake again?" Or you don't want to. I don't want to hear it from that person, and I don't want to be reminded of what I did either. And I get it. Part of the profession is dealing with media and handling it, but I can empathize a little bit with having to deal with it, and sometimes it just gets to you. So I don't get as wrapped up in that. I know fans get super pissed about it. It's never been something I've really cared about, Tamik, because it's just, your brain and your body is thinking about 100,000 things, and to be annoyed by that stuff, it happens.
Okay. I agree. I don't give a shit what players say, coaches say. We've made that clear. But a couple rebuttals is, A, this is the job. They know that. They know that this is a job. And B, Kayvon Thibodeau specifically was asked during the draft process, how is it going to be for you when you don't get sacks in New York? This is not news that he was asked this question. That was like a big thing on, we knew this. He was asked that question. He was tested about this stuff. So no, he can't do this. And, we have revisionist history with Michael Strahan and the way he was acting like a prick before 2007. But there's a reason to not like that shit, because like it or not, this is a part of the NFL. It's a part of the media storm. And if it pisses off Mara, it's a reason for a talented player to not play for this market. So it is important, even if I don't personally care. So I hate that it's important. I hate that the media access, I don't need this shit. I don't need their canned answers. I don't need them immediately following, you know what I mean? No, I wouldn't like a microphone right in my face. I don't think that they should have to do that, but I don't make the rules. Yeah. That is the rules, and this is the society we live in. I don't like that I have to pay with my fucking phone instead of cash some places. What am I going to do about it?
Well, I guess let me spin it a little differently then. I don't understand why people get so pissed when these type of things go on. I feel, Jordan Raanan, I know you have certain opinions about him. I have my opinions about him as well.
It was a fair question, though.
It's a fair question, but I don't know their relationship. Also, we don't know if he's a needle of him or not. Who knows? I just think when fans instantly are just like, "Oh, that guy's an asshole" and everything, I don't think it's an indicator of interest or wanting to play or desire to play or effort level or anything. I just think that, asking, and remember too, think of the psychology of athletes that, when you're an elite athlete, when you're an elite football player, you are getting your ass kissed and you are never told no, basically from the time you're 13 years old. And it's not easy, no matter how much prepping for interviews at the combine or prepping before the draft or, the little orientations they do during rookie, orientation week and stuff, that it takes a period of an adjustment to being challenged and being told no and being criticized to your face. So, if Kayvon Thibodeau is in his 10th year and he's still acting like an asshole, well, then, you just are an asshole. So he's only in year 3. I say only in year 3. You'd think it's like, well, he should know by now, but he's still relatively young guy. This is one of the first few times I can think of where, he's actually catching shit for things. You could say all you want about how you'd handle something until you actually experience it. We all respond when there's live bullets in something. And I think this is a case for that. And again, I'm not trying to come off as an apologist for players or giving them permission to be assholes. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying I can understand it happening. And I don't think all of a sudden we should think he's the biggest prick in the universe because of it.
I agree with that. Moving forward, Daniel Jones was named the starter for this upcoming game against the Commanders. We both have thoughts on whether or not DJ should be starting. They don't really have any bearing on Sunday because we don't get to make that choice. It's already happening. Daniel Jones is playing. So when we feel it's time to bring this up, we'll unload. But until then, he's the starter. So let's get into the offense then. Daniel Jones is the starter, right? 3 quick thoughts on how they need to play this game. Mm-hmm. Let's start with Daniel Jones. He just needs to play loose. He's got his own limitations, but he can't be playing without confidence. No quarterback can be playing without confidence. He just needs to hang tight in the pocket. Don't overreact to one guy slipping through. Get out of the way. Keep your eyes downfield. You don't need to leave the pocket just because one guy collapsed. Stay calm and just rip it. Trust your eyes. Trust the play call. Trust what you see and trust what you feel. Just rip it. The NFL moves way too fast for you to second guess everything. Number 2, hit this defense deep early. People think that this Commanders roster is horrible. I still think that they're very good up front. On the defensive front, I think they're weaker in the back end. I think test them deep early, establish that deep threat early, make them second guess, make the linebackers play off of the line of scrimmage, and then follow that up with the quick game stuff to the underneath. But limit how much you play laterally. And then number 3, off of that, work the run off of the pass. They've signed Jakob Johnson back to the active roster. Use the fullback, use some power run, hit the edges where they're a little bit weaker than they are in the middle, and slow down the blitzes and a weakened, tired defense.
I think when Mike Kafka first got here and Brian Dable first got here, one of the first things they said was, okay, Daniel Jones, let's talk. What are the things that you most feel comfortable with? And let's kind of incorporate those things into the offense. I think this is all of this, the problems with DJ right now are in his head. I think, I know it's been the cliche for the past week that he's turned to David Carr, and I've said it myself on the show, on the other thing, but he is, the difference between David Carr and Daniel Jones was from day one when David Carr was in this league, he never had a chance. He, from day one, never had an offensive line, and he never had any level of success or confidence or a good offensive line or anything, weapons around him. And he was broken because he was never fixed to begin with. Daniel Jones has had that before. I mean, again, he's not had the greatest offensive line before, but he's had success. He's been successful enough that a general manager with the blessing of an owner paid this guy $40 million a year. So I think there's a better chance that he can be fixed than someone that was never right to begin with. And how do you do that? You put him in a situation to be most comfortable. And it made me think a little bit about Hyatt, going back to him for a second. I'm wondering who's playing that rotation of wide receivers is based on who Daniel Jones feels most comfortable with. I would say, if he's got a connection with Darius Slayton over Hyatt, you keep playing him. If he's developing a relationship with having Theo Johnson for whatever reason in the offseason, you play him more too. This is all about getting him off the abyss and getting him off the ledge that he can be at least a functional quarterback throughout the rest of the year. Because, again, we'll get into it when the time is right about, what are the alternatives. Right now, this is the best alternative, is Daniel Jones being your starter. The guy who's had the most reps in his career on this roster, who's had the most success of anybody. And I just think it's about just comfort level, getting him comfort. And I don't know if he's seeing a sports psychologist, if it's something in his head about, am I recovered from the injury? Is it about, fears of this offensive line? I don't know what it is, but whatever this coaching staff to do to help him be as comfortable as he can, we need to do it.
It's not a bad point at all. But I do think that winning this game has more to do with stopping Washington from scoring than it does scoring points ourselves. And so defensively, how I think you play this game is first and foremost, you stop the run. Like, first and foremost, the one thing you can't have is a running game with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler go wild. So, a rookie quarterback's best friend is a healthy running game. There's so much less pressure on them right away. So win the line of scrimmage and don't let Robinson get into a rhythm, and make sure that Eckler goes to the ground. It's like one of the hardest things is really getting Eckler all the way to the ground. That's number one. Number two, disguise the back end. Jaden Daniels, the one thing that he's definitely got to develop over time in this league is his ability to read the field, particularly post snap. Make him second guess everything, make it difficult for him, make him stay in the pocket. Just don't let him know where to go right away. Receivers, our corners, the talent matchup is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but it's somewhat irrelevant to how you scheme this. Like, you need to confuse the quarterback, because you may not win some of these guys, but they're not. This isn't Justin Jefferson out there with Terry McLaurin. This isn't, you know what I mean? So I think that that's really important. And then, tied in with that is, this is super duper important. I think this is crucial. I think this is clutch. And I think this is the most important thing to winning this game, is assign spies to Jaden Daniels.
You got
Getting Daniels down is going to be difficult. I do think that Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau are going to have a much better performance in this game than they did last week. Even if they don't necessarily get home, I just think that they'll play better. I think they'll probably get more pressures. But getting Jaden Daniels down to the ground is going to be difficult. Like, he's fast, he's slippery, and he is ready to run because he's a rookie quarterback. But I do think that, tying it into the disguise, use a variety of players to spy on him. You can rotate Bobby Okereke, Isaiah Simmons, Tyler Nubin, Jason Pinnock. I think even Drew Phillips can work into that role. Again, keep him guessing while always assigning some kind of spy to him. And then most important with that is keep good contain. So, like, if you're not going to get pressure from your edge guys, make sure that the pocket around him stays collapsing in a full circle. Like, don't allow escape lanes for him, because it's going to make it harder on that spy. It's going to make it easier for him to escape. Those, to me, are the three most crucial things for the defense. And I think that winning the defense is more crucial to winning the game somehow.
See, I actually, I had a contrarian view to something. I agree with you almost. Like, I think the only way that he is going to beat us is when he has to improvise and take off. So to me, I almost want him to have his first read. And if it's something underneath stuff, fine, you can have it. I just don't. My biggest fear, if it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, we go back, we put some pressure on him. He doesn't have his first look. He just takes off. jukes a guy, gets 13 yards, first down, continues the drive. I feel more worried that could be more successful than if he drops back, 3-step drop, sees a guy, his first read is hot, takes it, gets 7 yards. Okay, fine, whatever. I just don't believe he can consistently, throughout the course of 60 minutes, go up and down the field against us and do that. And if he takes his shots, I have to see it to believe it that he can do it in somewhat a consistent manner also. So to me, it's almost like, at this super early stage in his career, as early as you're going to be in the NFL, make him be a passer first. Make him throw. Because the second it breaks down and his instinct right now is going to beat a run, that's what I'm a little worried about.
Well, but that's sort of what I'm saying, right? Like, disguise your coverages, keep the contain, and make sure that you have someone assigned to him in case he takes off.
Mine was almost more of like a safety defense of like, let him take his first read, and it's almost going to be more, in my mind, almost kind of like the offense we had last year with Tommy DeVito, where, okay, his completion percentage is pretty decent, but what's he getting his average yards per attempt? He's not all of a sudden going to be gunslinging all over the field against us. So I think it's just, keep him contained by giving him the little stuff that, and not having him improvise to, do crazy things.
I see what you're saying. So, like, by disguising coverages, you're almost encouraging him to improvise, which is the thing that you're worried about. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know if our second or, our linebackers and safeties and corners are good enough to do that, just to say, okay, take your thing and we're going to tackle well, we are going to contain well, we're going to keep everything in front of us. I don't know, but again, our defense has to be so spot on because we are struggling so badly to score, where this game might flip on one 65-yard Jaden Daniels run.
100%.
And where we might lose that game 10-6 because of it. So I need to limit big plays in this game as much as I can. And I'm sure Washington's thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. Make them have a 12-play, 84-yard drive. They're like, there's no effing way the Giants can do that right now. And I don't think the Commanders can do that right now either. But, the one guy on this field has potential to make a big play is Jaden Daniels.
On the special teams side, I think I'm just going to continue. For special teams for me, as long as Gunner is hurt, whatever, just keep catching the ball.
Yep.
That's really it.
That's fine. Yep.
So this is how we felt about this game back in the summer. Our pens and pencils prediction. Week 2 against the Washington Commanders, now head coached by Dan Quinn. Cranky fan, give me your prediction.
Oof, 2 teams that I just don't know who they are again. Again, we have the potential of facing a rookie quarterback 2 weeks in a row. This one does feel like a win in pencil. I am pretty positive that he's going to be starting. J.J. McCarthy, we can debate whether they're going to give the keys to the car to him right away or let him sit a little bit. You're drafting a real face of the franchise. You are drafting a Heisman Trophy quarterback. You are drafting the future right now. You are drafting a guy who's going to take some time, I think, in this league to be good. I don't know if he's going to have instant success. I think he's going to have to work a little bit. I think the Giants are catching Washington at the absolute right time. I look at this as a win in pencil.
Here's where I think the biggest change for the new look Commanders is, and it's with the head coach. Ron Rivera is an excellent coach. I think he is a leader of men. But Dan Quinn is like, if Ron Rivera is Eisenhower, Dan Quinn is, I don't know, General Patton. This is somebody who's going to rile up the troops. I think he's a far more passionate head coach who is not, being treated for cancer in this moment. I think he's going to be more fiery. I think he's going to get the fire in the bellies of this team going. I think that he did a good job of bringing in a bunch of skill position to have an explosive offense with Jaden Daniels at the forefront, but also Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz. He's already got Terry McLaurin and Josh Dotson. But more importantly to me, for this matchup specifically, is familiar names added to a very strong defense. Brought in Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong. He also brought in Cleveland Farrell. They joined Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. They drafted Jerjon Newton. I think that at home against the Giants, Dan Quinn knows how to frustrate Daniel Jones. I think he knows the weaknesses of this offense and the offensive line, and I feel very strongly that this is a loss, even though I do not think that these Commanders are for real. I think early in the season, they will have the fire in their guts. They will not have been tested to their limits yet, and they won't be down in the dumps yet. I think that this Commanders team is going to be a mess, but I think that this is a loss in pen for us. All right. So how do you think you viewed this game?
Well, as before the Daniel Jones shitburger we saw last week, we made that prediction.
and before JJ McCarthy tore his ACL or whatever.
That's true too. Yeah. Hey, if I thought that we were good for 24 points, I'd still have us in pencil, maybe even closer to pen, but I just don't have any confidence in this team scoring at all, no matter who they're playing. I think, some of our biggest battles are with ourselves as opposed to what defense we're facing against. Daniel Jones has probably had a really rough week. This whole team has had a rough week. They've hurt a lot. I don't know what kind of a hostile environment, whatever that stadium is now called. I think it's, hey, for $5, Grump, what's the name of the stadium now?
Yeah, I think it's Commander's Field, isn't it?
It is Northwest.
Damn it.
Something. And it's not Northwest Airlines because they went out of business 25 years ago. It's Northwest something.
Northwest
Field.
Bell.
Northwest Field, Northwest Stadium, whatever it's called. But that place has not been a real home field advantage for anybody in a while. Although this will be their first home game. And, when you get a major attraction in the draft, you might have, kind of the excitement we felt at the Meadowlands before, the game started last week. You might see some of that as well. So maybe, I don't know.
I would say even more. You have a new quarterback, and their first game went poorly, but would you not be excited based on what you saw week one out of Jaden Daniel? Like, he can clearly rip it. He can clearly run. He's got a lot to learn. You know that, but it feels like you just drafted Robert Griffin again, which was the last time that this team had anything to be excited about.
If you're a fan, you want one of two things. You want wins or you want hope.
Right.
And Commanders fans right now have hope. Giant fans right now have a tailgate at L16. So that's the difference right now in these two fan bases. But get back to prediction. Until I can see that this Giant offense can move the ball, move the chains consistently, own field position, get into field goal range, get in the red zone, consistently actually score touchdowns, it's going to be very hard for me to predict them to beat anybody, especially a team on the road that is probably is a little better talent than us. And right now, unfortunately, and this is pathetic for me to say, a quarterback I'd have more confidence in playing with right now. I will say Commanders winning ugly 17-9. I also think we're getting the end zone again.
Yeah, clearly. I think my prediction was pretty on point. I'm still worried about all the same things. I'm worried about a Dan Quinn-led defense and a Dan Jones-led offense. I think it's been an Achilles heel for both Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones. Like I said, I think the defense. I think there's a pathway defensively to reduce their scoring. I don't know. It's hard for me to have any confidence in the offense on what we saw. There was no touchdown. The only team to not score a touchdown. I don't know how to have confidence. Somehow, I do think I think that there is a chance for a defensive score in this game for the Giants. Jaden Daniels' first play of his career was a backwards pass that was dropped in like a 13-yard loss. So, I mean, there is certainly a way to attack this. Rookie quarterbacks are always good for mistakes.
Apparently, so are 6-year quarterbacks.
Yeah, no kidding. I have this as Washington winning 20-17. I do think that finally the offense scores. It might even be in garbage time, though.
Was that, you said 20-14?
17.
So is that a prediction including a defensive touchdown?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Like
Yeah.
it.
Or at least, a turnover so close to the end zone that you don't want to credit the offense for the touchdown because it wasn't really a drive. You know what I mean? I mean,
Gotcha.
that happened last week and they couldn't punch it in. But, it's week one. I don't want to say rust, but like, you adjust your game plan, you adjust everything. This is the new NFL. Week one is always kind of weird. So
Yeah.
I think if they get a turnover, in the red zone, they might be able to punch in a touchdown offensively. This is such a pathetic prediction. Anyway, those are our predictions, both losses. Let's move forward. Dallas is home versus the New Orleans Saints. I've got Dallas winning this one. New Orleans is a little bit better than I expected, I think. But right now, I feel pretty confident Dallas wins this game at home.
Grump, that meme that comes around every year, whereas the 4 seasons, and it's like, you know, Cowboys talk shit in the off season. They win their first couple of games. They think they're going to the Super Bowl. Then reality hits, and then they're going to fire the coach at the end, and it just repeats every year. This has all the classic makings of a typical Cowboys cycle. They win a convincing win last week against a team that most people thought was pretty damn good, right? And they're home against a team I agree with. I think is a little better than people thought. I think they win big, and I think all of a sudden you're going to hear a lot of the "here comes Dallas" talk this week. So I have them winning.
Philadelphia is having their home opener against the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta stinks. Kirk Cousins looks he's hobbled for the Achilles injury still. I don't know. I have Philly in this one. This is not a matchup where I think Philly loses.
One of my cardinal rules is don't be a whore. And I'm going to break that rule this week because I have Philly as my survivor pick. I don't like to gamble or bet on blood money rooting for my enemies, my mortal enemies. But this one, I just can't see how Atlanta is going to go into Philly on a Monday night and with the way Kirk Cousins looked. No way. Philly wins big.
All right, so we are across the board agreeing. Last week we didn't agree on a fucking thing, so let's hope that this is let's hope that we're wrong on all three of these predictions.
Yeah,
I guess all four of these predictions. Same difference.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, everyone. We will see you all on Twitter at @football_grump, at the Cranky Fan during the next weekend throughout the game on Sunday. And then we will see you all Tuesday morning for our recap episode after a Giants win, we hope. 1-1 in the standings, putting us in third place ahead of the Washington Commanders, who will be 0-2 at that point. Let's hope. Let's have some hope for the season because it's still September and it's still sunny.
I was going to say, that'd be a
degrees.
really good April Fool's episode we're going to have. But
yeah.
Hey, hope you never know. I mean, if that was the case, 30 million people would have Washington in the survivor pool this weekend and be a lot of people lose. So
yeah,
that's why we play games, and that's why the NFL is so great.
All right, everyone. We will see you all next week. Until then, go Giants.
Go Giants.